Hello from Sydney. It's Wednesday, new blog post day. Today it is all about living an AIP way of life. And really, how do you live an AIP way of life? How do you live beyond elimination? Hello, Miss Tish. How gorgeous to see you, Possum. How are you? So, yes, today we're talking about beyond elimination. So, we know that the elimination phase of AIP, for those of us who've been doing it for a long time, it gets the lion's share of attention, doesn't it? I mean, there's loads and loads and loads of free resources around the interweb all about how you can navigate your elimination phase. There are oodles of resources for you, especially for those of you who are just starting out. But what happens beyond elimination? What about when you are in the stage of living an AIP way of life? And let's kick that off by framing it. Let's start by just going through the fact that there are actually 3 phases to this AIP caper. And it's not just about the elimination phase. Phase 1 is the elimination phase. That's the one that gets all the attention. This is where we all begin. It's where you remove all of those potentially inflammatory foods and really focus on a nutrient-dense approach. It's where you start to recognize that it's really about so much more than just the food, which is a bit freaky because you kind of think that it's all about the food and you'll go back to your old way of life when you've healed yourself. It's about things like getting enough sleep and actively managing your stress and building a supportive community and all of those good things that really matter for our health. But the elimination phase is just the beginning. Phase 2 is the reintroductions phase. And arguably the reintros phase is kind of the trickiest of the 3. This is where you get to try to reintroduce foods back into your diet. And if you're lucky, you get to rapidly expand your ingredient repertoire with more nutrient-dense options. It's very important that you take your time and don't rush this process. And this is where that food and mood journal that I bang on and on and on about all the time, we talk about it in AIP Reset, this is where that really comes into its own. And to be fair, there's actually quite a lot of information available on this phase as well. My lovely friend Eileen over at Phoenix Helix even has a wonderful ebook on the reintroductions phase if you're needing a little bit of extra help. But it's phase 3 that I'm really wanting to talk to you about today. Phase 3 is the maintenance phase of AIP. And I call this your AIP way of life phase. This is where you personalize your template for the nutrient-dense diet that you're going to continue to follow, the one that you know works for you. It's your framework for making those lifestyle choices that really serve you in a very personal way. And it's not static, right? Once we get to this phase, we don't just, hang there. It's a very organic and constantly evolving tool. And one of the reasons, I guess, you find less phase 3 specific info is because it's very, very individual. We are, each of us, unique little snowflakes, and your personalized protocol is likely to look very different to mine. But having said that, I've been on this AIP caper for a while now, and while my protocol probably does look different to yours, I do have a few strategies up my sleeve that I thought I would share with you to help you maybe stay on track as you build your AIP way of life. And if you have any strategies yourself that I haven't included, let me know in the comments below, because I'm all for expanding my knowledge base, if you like. So the first of these strategies is really to remember to slow down. I think for many of us, the reason that we got here in the first place is that we were just so busy, and life was happening to us, and we weren't actually in the moment. So AIP is not about trying to do everything at once. It's not about filling up every last minute in your day and creating endless AIP focused things to do on your to-do list. Rather, it's kind of the opposite. It's about learning the art of the pause, checking in with yourself, opening up a space in your mind to become more in tune with you, with your body and what serves you. And it's really impossible to achieve that if you are barreling through your days at the speed of light, but like a bull in a china shop. That's kind of how I think of myself in my pre-AIP days. Very sort of focused on everything that I was doing. And I'm still focused. I'm just a little bit more calm about how I approach things now. I'm wondering if that's something that you can relate to. So slowing down is a really big part of this. And I've put that first for a good reason, because so many of us struggle with that in such a big way. The second thing will come as no surprise to those of you who have been following me for a while. Regularly set goals. It doesn't matter what phase you are at in your personal protocol, you know that this AIP framework is a massive beastie. So it's physically impossible. Hello, lovely Cassie. Nice to see you. It's really impossible for us to do this all at once. We just can't. We're human beings. We're not infallible. So the very best way for us to chip away at our own AIP way of life is to, check in with ourselves regularly, to think critically, and to get into this practice of regularly setting health goals. Because they change, right, as we change. And this helps us to really drill down into what our priorities are right now. Because they'll be different next week or next month or next year. So those health goals, chunking them down. Our brains work so much better when we give them small, targeted things to focus on. When it's up here and it's really enormous, it can feel overwhelming. So when we chunk it down, it feels a lot more manageable. The third thing is develop personal rituals that serve you. So habits are really great. We know that habits serve us well when they're good habits. And I'm an advocate for them, for bedding down healthy diet and lifestyle changes. But for me, rituals are even better. Rituals are like good habits on crack. Because when you elevate a habit to a ritual, it takes on a greater level of personal focus for you. It becomes like a touchstone that really grounds you in your AIP way of life. I wonder, what do you think, Cassie? What do you think, Miss Tish? Is this something that resonates for you? I mean, when I think about my personal AIP rituals, I have a morning ritual that is really important to me, and it's been quite transformative in terms of giving myself space, creating space to make choices that serve me. It slows me down. My morning ritual has helped my sleep. My circadian rhythms are far more in sync because I'm up every morning watching the sunrise. It gives me time to myself. It allows me to really work through my goal setting practice. It allows me to set an intention for the day. Yoga is great. I love that yoga is one of your rituals. That's fabulous, Cassie. Thank you. So, for me, that morning ritual is a really big part of this ritualization process. Making nutrient density your hobby is a ritual. Or maybe something to work on then, Miss Tishmeister. So for me, one of my nutrient-dense hobby rituals is this art of fermentation, fermenting my vegetables. And I find it quite a cathartic process. Because the thing about fermenting your food is that it is all about letting nature take its time. You can't rush it. So it slows you down, and it's a very tactile way for you to connect with the food that you're eating. So you're kind of nourishing your soul in a weird way as you are fermenting foods to nourish your body. So I love that as a ritual. And of course, I go to my weekly farmers market. That is a ritual for me, connecting with the people who are growing and preparing my food, local people, seasonal food, grass-fed, happy, pasture-raised protein. All of these things are rituals that really resonate for me. But ritualizing your AIP way of life is a great way for you to bed it down in a way that really serves you. Working on your internal locus of control is my next tip. So, I lost my place. Let me get it back again. When you are somebody with a very strong internal locus of control, you tend to believe that you can influence your life events, and even more importantly, you can influence their outcomes. That doesn't mean that you have control over everything in your life, but you and your choices and your behavior will influence the outcomes. If, on the other hand, you believe that you are at the mercy of outside forces, and that includes the opinions of other people, then you are more likely to have an external locus of control. This is where life happens to you. When you work on understanding and aligning towards your personal values and regularly setting your health goals in a way that align with those personal values, you are helping yourself to develop this internal locus of control. And that can be quite a powerful thing for you to do when it comes to things like personal accountability. Listening to your body is the next one. When you start this AIP caper, it's very easy to think that it's all about the food. And one of the unexpected side benefits, if you like, a bonus that you don't realize you're going to get when you start, is this increase in self-awareness. And I wonder if that's something that you guys agree with. You know, I feel like AIP has opened up this world of developing greater self-awareness. And for me, this is about listening or learning to listen to my body in a way that I didn't really do before. And for me, it's a form of self-care. And the best way, excuse me, the best way I've found to start listening to my body in a very transactional, practical and pragmatic way is to keep my food and mood journal. And it's something that I still come back to when I really need to recalibrate. So when I'm doing my AIP resets, I keep a food and mood journal because that's how I check in with myself. And I know that I become aware of things that I may have sort of ignored because they were sort of peripheral things. They become things that I recognize as more important because I'm documenting the process. That food and mood journal really is, I think, the most important tool in my toolbox. Building a really strong tribe of support is important. It is really hard to do this by yourself. So having people who are walking beside you on your health caper is a really big part of driving or enhancing your chances of success in your continued AIP way of life. So increasingly, studies into the idea of human connection and community really clearly illustrate that a very tight network of good friends can have a hugely beneficial impact on your health. And this is even more important when it comes to your AIP tribe. So those people in your support team who really understand the complexities of living with a chronic illness and of navigating this AIP way of life, of the fact that you make choices that perhaps other people don't understand. So it doesn't really matter whether you're enjoying a quiet meal with your partner, maybe that he's cooked for you, whether you're catching up with a girlfriend at your local cafe, or whether you're leaning on a mate for support during a really difficult time. The people in your AIP support team are the ones who are there for you when you really need them most. And science shows us that this loyalty can have a profoundly positive impact on our health. So these friendships, oh, bless your cotton socks. I feel the same way, Tish. I feel the same way. So these friendships, like the ones you're talking about, Miss Tishmeister, so they're linked to benefits of physical, mental, emotional health. So if you haven't got an AIP tribe, if you haven't found your tribe yet, I absolutely encourage you to work at finding your tribe, because you will get so much more back than you put out when you find your people. And I'm speaking from personal experience. And for me, the final one, when it comes to living an AIP way of life, and it's funny, we've been talking about this on my Facebook page this week, the different phases of AIP. For me, there is a piece of when life gets in the way, when it throws me curveballs, when I've been a little bit more stressed than usual, or work's been, taking more out of me, or I've been straying from my personal diet. When that happens, taking things right back to basics is a really good way for me to recalibrate. And even better, if I know that I've got something coming up, that's when I will try to anticipate taking things back to basics. So for those of you who don't know, I've got a big overseas trip coming up. I'm turning 50. Can't believe I'm going to be half a century. And I know that I'm going to be straying from my protocol while I'm traveling. So in September, I'm doing a full 100% back to basics AIP reset. Oh, Cassie, I can't see the entire comment. You did the AIP reset with Ems and Sophie about 2 years ago. I have to go and read the rest of your comments, sweetie, after the video, but thank you. Come and join us again in September. It's going to be a real doozy, this one. So when you have sticky patches, which just makes you human, when that happens to your AIP way of life, those times when you stray from your personal protocol because life gets in your way, because that is life, because everybody experiences that, then you can kind of take things back to basics to re-find your groove. And it is amazing how this gives you back that it's part of that internal locus of control, taking personal responsibility by going back to basics so that you can recalibrate and find your feet again. So I guess for me, there is a whole caboodle of strategies that I use to build my AIP way of life. And so much of it is alien to how I lived before AIP. So I'm very grateful to the autoimmune protocol framework for giving me this toolbox, if you like, learning the art of the pause, the importance of regularly setting goals, developing my internal locus of control, building my community, taking things back to basics, slowing down, and really prioritizing my health in a way that I never did before AIP. So I hope that some of those have resonated with you. I'm going to put a link to that blog post in the comments of the video. If you've got any strategies that you would like to share, I would love to hear from you. And and I wish you well. I wish you grace and ease on your AIP way of life. Thanks so much for checking in with me today. I will see you again on Friday morning for the Friday morning chicken with the sunrise. Over and out from me. Bye.